What up, world? You already know who it is. It's your boy, Rod Dog from the Mars Bolt up here. And, just wanted to do a video for you guys. I didn't really do an end of the season recap or anything. So just wanted to, just talk about kind of end of the season. Just some of my thoughts, on this season going forward, Just, back home from the studio, just chilling and thought I'd just talk about some things for you guys who want to know about the league. So, so if you weren't paying attention at the very end, the championship game was between Garrett and Doug. So this is, Doug having a very strong season this year, Garrett getting to the finals 2 years in a row, and Doug took it. He did great this year. So, his team, I feel like, was pretty solid. I feel like it kind of hit its peak around end of the regular season. I just remember looking at his team at some point, and I'm like, dang, so he just got D'Angelo Williams, like when Le'Veon Bell's out for the season. I'm like, he has 4, top 10 running backs on his team. I'm like, most of us don't even, have one of those top 10. I think 2 of his running backs were in top 5 for the year, like Mark Ingram and Devontae Freeman. So, he just crushed the running back game. And running backs can be real make or break for some teams. And I think that was Doug's key to success this year. In addition, he had Gronk, who just, a lot of people forget about how dominant Gronk is and how if you have him on your team, you just never have to think about tight end. So that's a pretty nice thing about having a good tight end. So, one thing we want to work on going forward as commissioners is our league transparency. So in case you didn't know, third place takes home their money back, $25. Second place gets $50. And then first place gets the rest, minus the trophy fees and the payouts the other. So Doug's going to get this bad boy right here. It's the Skip Scramble trophy. It's pretty cool. Looks really nice and clean. I feel like this thing kind of took a beating with our last champion, but they went so far. I love they kept I told them to all lowercase styling for his name, and then we have a classic George quote here, and then of course he gets the perpetual plate along with Derek. Never forget year 1. Doug's in there as year 2. So it's going to be fun watching this thing grow through the years, So, another, got to give props to Garrett for taking second place again. His team was kind of riding up and down waves. I feel like he was hurt in the beginning of the season when he lost Des Bryant. But then once Gurley came back, he had a top 3 running back for the rest of the season, so I think, we're seeing a trend here, key to success, dope running back. So speaking of that, kind of want to just do a little year in review. It's after the draft, everyone says what they want to say, but this year was kind of a brutal one for trying to get stud running backs. A lot of the top picks injured. Bell out for the season. Lynch is kind of hurting all year. Then you got your Lacey, who just what's up with Lacey? He's just back and forth, not doing too good. I'd say out of the top, and then you also have Jamal Charles hurt. So out of the top 5 picks, Adrian Peterson's the only one who did pretty good this year, and I wouldn't say he was he killed it or anything. So very rough climate for running backs this year. Same with quarterbacks. You look at the best quarterbacks for fantasy, and they can kill it for you. And Andrew Luck and Aaron Rodgers had great years last year, and they went very early in our draft. We're talking early, mid, second round. Both were busts. I'm not sure what's going on there, but just not even close to how much they were killing it last year. Say this year for quarterbacks, they just didn't quite shine as bright. We have Cam Newton, who obviously killed it. Other than that, Carson Palmer was he was very solid. We're not seeing 30, 40-point games out of him very often, though. It's just not a great year for quarterback. But on the other hand, I'd say it was a great year for wide receivers. Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, everyone knew they're going to kill it, and they did. AJ Green did well. Then you got these like mid-round tier guys that were killing it this year, like out of nowhere. I didn't really know much about these guys, even like DeAndre Hopkins, your like Allen Hurns, your what is it, Allen Robinson. Like these guys were just murdering it this year, and it kind of out of nowhere on kind of shitty teams, but just lighting it up with a lot of touchdowns and shit like that. So, it's gonna be interesting going forward. Overall this year was really fun. It went by really quick. Definitely think the league was more competitive this year, which was awesome. I would say, like 3 weeks out from playoffs, I feel like 11 of the 14 teams could have technically still made it. And then going into the final week, there were still 9 teams that were eligible for playoffs. And that's awesome. It's just competitive down to the last second. Every game means something. Even some of these people at the bottom, like Jesse got last place, but it was his first year, and I think he learned a lot about how the system works. EJ did much better this year, but just, due to bad luck and just how competitive it is, he still kind of like ran towards the bottom. But, even guys like Chris and Austin, these guys had a great draft on paper, and then they know how to play the game. They've done this before. Have done well either last year in skips or in other leagues, and just had rough year for both those guys. Fully expected to bounce back next year, but you just never know. On the flip side of that, teams like Sam and Jill weren't on fire last year, but got the hang of things, knew what they were doing this year, had killer seasons. So it's pretty cool. So the funny thing about Yahoo is that you can still access the league and look at the record book. And there's kind of some funny things in here I was looking at. So this year, the longest streak of winning games was Garrett and Doug both won 6 in a row at some point. That's pretty awesome. But if you look at all-time, the all-time leaders are still Matt and Derek. With it, last year they won 7 games in a row. So it's kind of cool. The record book has this of this season we're in, and then of all-time leader. So that's pretty cool. You could see who has hardest schedule, easiest schedule. I think Mars Boltup still has most average points last year. It's just that's pretty serious considering that we changed the scoring this year. And speaking of which, too, that was kind of a cool thing. I think we really hit a sweet spot this year with scoring. I played in a couple other leagues, and some of the other leagues I play in, the scoring is just so whack. But I think we hit a really good one this year in skips. We introduced the half PPR. That's great because it makes more players relevant. 14 teams, that's just not that many players are out there, so kind of makes choices a little easier. It's not like a total drought out there. We also nerfed the DST scorings. I think they're perfect the way they're at right now. If you have a killer game, you're hitting 25-ish, which is pretty good. Last year, teams were getting 35, 40, which is that's just too much. It's unacceptable. But if you still blow it and play, and your DST has a shitty game, they're still gonna get -5 or something, which is that's how it should be. The IDP, the individual defensive guys, your linebackers and your whatever the other defensive backs. We changed up the scoring for that, and I think it made it much cooler too. It wasn't just tackles. Your guy got points for defending passes. Interception is 4 points. That's already that's big. That's kind of that's like a passing touchdown in a way. Pretty cool. And it's cool. I noticed more people were kind of into the IDP. Last year, I'd say people were just whatever. Can you tell the difference between the guys? And this year, kind of know the name of some big time guys now. It's definitely fun to root for the other side of the ball. So going forward, I think we hit a pretty good thing with scoring this year. I'm still kind of on the fence. I've changed my tone a little bit about if we should have 4 or 5 bench spots. I think if we were to have 5 bench spots, we would have to introduce another position. Like maybe we do defensive linemen. Defensive linemen seem to be the most popular IDP position, so it's weird that we don't do it. That's just kind of how we decided to do it year one. But I'm definitely open to that. Start a dialogue now. If people are interested, we'll see when it comes next year. So, it was a great year. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you had fun watching if you're not in the league and you just like catching up. Until next year, I'm going to take a little break for a little bit. Keep in touch with ESPN and the sponsors and see where it goes from there. But like always, thanks a bunch for watching this year. I know the recaps weren't as frequently as I would have liked, but we're going to work on getting things a little more streamlined for next year. So once again, have a good off season. I'll see y'all next year. Peace.